Aelorian Princess Serenya had always thought the palace was merely a golden prison. She'd rather slip into the stables than endure lengthy court lessons, climb towers without shoes rather than stitching decorated cushions, and practice with a wooden sword in the training yard rather than carrying a fan in the throne room. Her courtiers referred to her as wild. Her father, the king, referred to her as a disappointment. Serenya referred to herself as free. That delusion came to an end the day she was called by her father into the grand hall. Serenya, King Alaric's thunderous voice greeted her entrance, hair disheveled from scaling rooftops, skirts creased from running. You will be respectful. Today, the council has come to announce your betrothal. Her breath stalled. What? The herald advanced, reciting from a scroll. By the crown's decree, Princess Serenya of Aeloria will marry Prince Kael of Dravaris. The name dropped like an axe. The hall exploded with gasps. Kael? Serenya stammered, gagging on incredulity. You mean the Butcher Prince? Her words rang off marble pillars. The courtiers bristled. Her father's glare could turn stone into ash. You will speak no more. This union will bring peace. And if I don't want it? Serenya retorted. Then you sentence your people to war, the king bellowed. She stood tall, chin high, voice cutting. Better war than binding me to a monster. The hall melted into whispers. The queen, calm as sculpted marble, lifted one hand. Enough. The marriage is sealed. Prince Kael arrives in a fortnight. Prepare yourself. That evening, Serenya sat on her balcony, gazing up at stars taunting her with their freedom. Her handmaiden and soul friend, Aeloria, slipped in with pilfered pastries. You should be picking out gowns, Aeloria teased. I should be free, Serenya muttered. Instead, I'm marrying a monster. Maybe the monster has dimples, Aeloria said with a wicked grin. Serenya hurled a pillow at her. If he does, I'll carve them off. But inside, she felt cold. Prince Kael of Dravaris, cold, ruthless, and now her husband-to-be. 2 weeks passed, and the bells of Aeloria rang out. Dravaris had come. Serenya stood within the throne room, coerced into a gown of silver silk. She wore the material itched with shame. The doors swung wide. He stepped inside. Prince Kael of Dravaris bore little resemblance to what she had envisioned. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair that fell to his jaw, storm-cloud eyes. His face was chiseled from stone. Cold, ruthless, yet not the snarling beast she'd envisioned. Nevertheless, his eyes shot through her as if he could penetrate all layers of defiance. Princess, he spoke low and icy. Prince, she smiled sweetly. Or Butcher, to be correct? Gasps spread throughout the room. Kael's lips curled the smallest inch, not a smile. Fiery. Excellent. I abhor fragile brides. The ceremony afterwards was a test of wills masquerading as woes. When queried if she would obey him, Serenya almost spat the words, I do. When questioned if he would love her, Kael's gaze flashed with something unreadable before he answered, always. At the banquet, Kael leaned in close, voice so low it was only for her. You regard me as your executioner. You likely are, she grumbled. Kael's eyes lingered on her mouth. Choice is an illusion in kingdoms such as ours. Serenya clenched, determined not to let his words unsettle her. Aeloria later leaned in and whispered in her ear, well, at least he's good-looking. You might have done worse. Serenya groaned. I'd rather marry a goat. On the other side of the table, Kael grinned as if he'd heard it all. The journey to Dravaris was long and bitter. The country darkened, became more austere, dense with spiny mountains and black stone fortresses. Even the air was more oppressive. The palace of Dravaris stood against the turbulent sky, massive and foreboding. Its black and red banners snapped like threats. Very charming, Serenya growled. Within, the halls had a hint of smoke and metal. Servants bowed respectfully, eyes suspicious. Whispers trailed after her, The rebel princess. The foreign bride. She won't last. By night, Serenya roamed, refusing to be confined in her chambers. She found long halls, barred doors, and once, a hidden passageway with the scent of wet earth. But more disturbing were the whispers surrounding Kael himself. They say he murdered his own cousin. They say he has no heart. They say his sword drinks blood like wine. Serenya reminded herself she didn't care. Except, she did. Because behind the cold facade, there were flashes of softness in Kael's eyes, where his hand rested gently at her spine in court, where he gazed at her as if she was the only truth in a sea of falsehoods. And that disturbed her more than the gossip. One stormy evening, Serenya was attracted to the off-limits wing of the palace. The doors were shut, but she had never encountered a lock that could resist her. She discovered shelves of dusty scrolls and books inside, maps of Aeloria and Dravaris, pledges of battle, and one creased parchment buried beneath loose stone. It was a prophecy. When steel marries flame, the kingdoms will be reduced to ashes or triumph. Rebel and Butcher joined in marriage shall determine the destiny of us all. Serenya's hands shook. This was more than politics. Her wedding was only one piece of something ancient, something evil. The sound of footsteps preceded her. She spun around, and Kael stood before her. His eyes were dark. "You shouldn't have come here." "Neither should you," she curtly replied, tucking the parchment behind her back. Kael moved nearer, speaking in a low voice. "There are things in this palace which will devour you whole. And yet you hold on to them," she said with bitterness. Because some truths, Kael spoke, his gaze fixed on her as if conflicted, are worse than falsehoods. Against her will, Serenya caught glimpses of the man under the cruelty. When a courtier sneered at her as the foreign witch, Kael quieted the hall with one look. "She is your queen. Speak again, and lose your tongue." When she stumbled on the palace stairs, it was Kael who steadied her, his arms firm, his eyes for an instant warm. When she laughed, infrequent, defiant, unguarded, he gazed at her as if the world itself had frozen. And one evening, late, she caught him practicing alone, punching a wooden dummy with fury. His face was haunted. "You fight as if you are pursuing ghosts," she told him. "Maybe I am," he spoke in a murmur. The masquerade ball shone with masks, music, and tension. Serenya appeared in crimson silk, her eyes glinting behind a golden mask. Kael was at her side, masked black, every inch the dreaded prince. Whispers circulated. Dravaris' nobles gazed at her suspiciously. Midnight, a blade glinted. An assassin struck. Kael reacted quicker than thought, covering Serenya, sword ringing of steel. The assassin darted into the crowd. Pandemonium erupted. But what hit Serenya most wasn't the peril. It was the way Kael's hand remained at her waist after, holding her steady, his voice gruff. "As long as I live, no one will ever hurt you." Her heart betrayed her, pounding with something perilously close to trust. The parchment's words nagged Serenya until she finally questioned Kael. "Why me?" she demanded. "Why this wedding?" Kael clenched his jaw. He took her into the forbidden wing, where additional scrolls were concealed. Because prophecy had bound us long before politics did. Rebel and Butcher, fire and steel. Together, we bring centuries of war to an end, or destroy both kingdoms. Serenya's chest constricted. "So we're pawns." "Not pawns," Kael said, moving near. "Pieces with power, if we play them right." For the first time, his hand brushed hers, not in a command, but a plea. A second try, days later, poison in her drink. Kael knocked it from her hand, burning with anger. "They want you dead because you're threatening them. You're stronger than you realize, Serenya." Together, we're invincible. They fought that night, screamed, almost tore at each other with insults, until the anger broke and Kael kissed her. Desperate, hard, like a drowning man who had finally reached air. Serenya did not fight back. Morning arrived with sunlight and uncomfortable silence. Aeloria burst in, almost swooning when she took in Serenya ensnared in Kael's cloak. "Well," Aeloria sneered, smiling wickedly, "I see Dravaris' hospitality agrees with you." Serenya hurled a pillow at her. Kael, for once, actually laughed. A deep, surprised laugh that sent Serenya's stomach into flips. Later, during breakfast, Serenya goaded him. "So the Butcher Prince can laugh. I thought your face might crack." Kael smirked. "Careful, wife. You're dangerously close to liking me." "Never," she said, while blushing furiously. Altogether, they discovered the plotters, Kael's own advisor, General Varos, conspiring to end the prophecy by murdering Serenya. In a tempest of steel and flame, Serenya and Kael fought together. And when Varos died, prophecy came true, not in destruction, but in harmony. The kingdoms of Aeloria and Dravaris came to rest, not from terror, but from the union of two hearts who were once enemies, rebels, abominations, until they decided to become better. At their crowning, Serenya stood proud at Kael's side. "Do you regret it?" he whispered. She grinned. "Only that I didn't stab you earlier." Kael laughed, holding her close. "Then I'll count myself fortunate." And as the bells rang out, Serenya knew that she had never lost her freedom. She had gained it, unpredictably, perilously, beautifully, in the arms of the man she once vowed to despise. Because sometimes, even the most depraved beginnings led to the most glorious conclusions.